Sande Golgart in Seattle. You're up, brother.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, Chad.
Hey, Sandy.
So you may or may not remember this, but we met at the Joe Dispenza event in Santa Barbara with Meltzer.
I do. I knew you looked familiar. I couldn't remember where I met you from, but yeah, that was what a great event. I'm at a private dinner with 40 people sitting on a panel with Joe Dispenza. What is happening to my life? Yes, what a great night. What a great event that was.
That was a great event. And one of my big takeaways from that night was I had just finished dunking on my 50th birthday, which was my goal to dunk until I was 50.
Yeah.
And you and I started talking, and you were telling me about your marathons and how you started doing it for the process, not the ego.
Yeah.
And it just hit me that I had been dunking until I was 50 for the ego, and I've now carried that forward. Wow. And I swear this year will be my best. Wow. But it's not awesome. For the ego, it's for the process. So, I've taken up a lot of endurance stuff that I thought that I hated and all that. But my question for you, after thanking you for the inspiration, was how do you balance this idea of surrender? You talk about God and the universe and knowing that oftentimes there's a much bigger path for us than we can conceive ourselves.
Yeah.
And balancing that idea between surrendering to that plan that is obviously bigger than what we can for ourselves and that need that we have to always take action.
Yeah. Well, what a great question. Yeah, for me, I didn't understand the power of surrendering my outcomes to God and my life to God. I didn't really understand it, even though I grew up in a Catholic house for most of my life. But when, there's a great book called Anxious for Nothing by Max, I forget the name. I forget. It'll come back to me. I apologize. But basically what they're saying is, you're creating this anxiety, even though every day of your life has been planned out before you were born, before you were even conceived. And I think at the end of the day, I will surrender to God. I will surrender my life to God, but I also have this culture of divine discontent. And divine discontent means that I know in my heart of hearts that Jesus believed, that God believed that you were spending your entire life on this earth dedicated to self-transformation. And when you transform yourself, you can help others transform. And when everybody transforms, the world becomes a better place. And so I think the idea for me is it's because true ego, like I said, edging God out, it's not about God, it's about me. Real ego would be not believing that you should have a bias towards action. You aren't created to just take up space. You were created to contribute. You were created to grow. You were created to become. And so for me, if you have a true faith in God, for me, if I have a true faith in God, then that means living with my foot on the gas pedal. It means being grateful for what I have today, but being obsessed with the next version of me is going to do. If you walk down my hallway in my office, there's 3 pictures. There's a picture of me as a kid in my little league outfit, miserable and broken. And underneath of it says who I was. Then there's you walk a couple feet further and there's another picture, and it's a picture of me crossing a finish line in a marathon. Full smile, cannonball moment, arms up, and it says who I am. And then you walk a couple feet further and there's another picture of me, of my shadow in an early morning run. And it said who I'm becoming. My life forever changed the minute I decided to love all versions of them, to love every version of them, the broken one, the current one, and the future one. And all of this happened because I have a bias towards action, because that's what God created me. I don't get to I can't rip out my childhood. I can't rip out that chapter of my life and have the same ending. God put me through that. Without that, I'm not sitting here today. Without that, I don't write the book. And so he tests us. I'm tested every day. And for, like you said, a bigger purpose that I'm unaware of. But I know one thing. I better take action. I better take action every day I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. What's coming up for me as you say that is this quote that I heard probably a year ago about if you work on your career, you'll have a pretty good career. Work on yourself and you'll have an amazing life. And so if the action is towards yourself and betterment, the rest can take care of itself.
I could not agree. I believe this. I believe there's two types of virtues in the world. There's career virtues and there's eulogy virtues. Career virtues are what they'll say about your retirement party. Eulogy virtues is what they'll say at your funeral. I live my life for eulogy virtues. The career will take care of itself, but I'm looking for a lot bigger virtues in the world, and that is my eulogy virtues. I served a purpose while living on this earth.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.